mentally ill. Now, what does that mean to all of you? Does it mean that I'm violent, that I'm beyond help, that I'm crazy? This is what I wanted to address with my senior project and my research. My research focused on stigma. Stigma is defined as negative connotations to something. Obviously, I focused on the stigma of mental illness. I researched public stigma, self-stigma, and the effect that those forms of stigma have on society. My project was a graphic novel. It tells the story of a teenage girl with depression. She lives in a modern fantasy society, and everybody has magic, and the magic represents a person's mind, and the magic going awry represents mental illness. I first got the idea for this when I was diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder. It's a type of depression. My mother bought me a book for a seasonal affective disorder, and in the foreword, the author said that he wanted to create a story that portrays SAD in a more fantastic manner to make it more accessible to people. I wanted to do the same thing. I created my own world, and I expanded it to include depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and schizophrenia. As I was developing my story, I thought back to some of my favorite artists. One artist's name is Wang Qingyang. She is both an environmentalist and an artist. If you just glance at her pieces, they are absolutely beautiful. But if you look at them more carefully, you will see great significance in them. Another one of my favorite artists, Destiny Blue, she battles depression and anxiety, and she channels that into her art. And she wants to create a community, a comfortable space for people to connect and understand one another. That's what I wanted to do with my graphic novel. I wanted to create a comfortable space where people can talk about mental illness. And as I continued working on my graphic novel, I realized that I put myself into my main character, Corey, a whole lot. I wanted to use my depression as inspiration for the story, but I wasn't expecting to put all of my experiences into this story. For example, Corey receives a failing grade on one of her assignments. I have never received a failing grade because of my depression, but I have received individual grades, low individual grades, because of my depression, and I have worried that my grades will start to drop because of my depression. And my energy level can be so low that I won't want to take a shower, or I won't even want to eat. And if I can't do those things, I can't do homework, I can't study. Another thing that Corey and I both do is that even when our parents ask us a simple question, such as, what do you want for dinner? Or, how was your day? We won't answer. We'll ignore them. And both of us will run up to our rooms, lock the door, and not come out for the rest of the night. I have been in therapy, and I've been learning coping strategies. Of course, I'm still trying to learn how to use those coping strategies effectively when I have a pretty bad day. And oftentimes when I think that I should use those coping strategies, I'll think it's too much effort. It's not worth it. I'm not worth it. Corey does the same thing. Whenever she's overwhelmed by her dark magic, she tries to use her light magic, but it proves ineffective. In the last few pages are symbolic of suicide. I myself have never attempted suicide, but I have definitely considered it, and I have definitely come close. But if I was ever in the same situation as Corey, and I woke up the next morning in a hospital, I would be overjoyed that I was alive. Some other things Corey and I both have in common: we both have to fight stigma. We don't have to deal with the practical effects of stigma, which include incredibly high rates of homelessness and unemployment. But we do have to fight public stigma and self-stigma. Public stigma is what the general public thinks of mental illness. Corey has to fight it when her teacher gives her a failing grade and he doesn't really offer any help besides, oh, maybe we could get you a tutor. And he leaves it at that. In my own life, I have experienced public stigma, and I'm sure all of you have heard this too. I'm so OCD. I hate when my room's messy. That's stigmatization. Or the association between mental illness and the word crazy. That's stigmatization. Or even one of my own family members, when I tried to explain what my depression is, he just brushed it off and said, I don't get it, and left the conversation at that. That is stigmatization. And then self-stigma has to do with self-shame and self-contempt because of mental illness. For example, I think oftentimes when I'm going through my depressive episodes, I will think, my medication is too expensive. My therapy is too expensive. I'm such a huge stress, a huge source of stress to my family and my friends. I am not worth it. I'm such a burden. That is self-stigmatization. And that is what I want to fight with my graphic novel. I want to open up the conversation. I want to create an open space and comfortable space for people who do have mental illness to share their stories and feel free to seek help. And I want people who don't have mental illness to feel comfortable talking about it, to want to understand what it's like. And that's what I'm fighting for with my graphic novel. And if this is my first contribution to that fight, then I'm proud of it. Thank you.